What's up, everyone? Aaron Schatz here, Editor-in-Chief of ASE Publishing, and today we've got another review for you. This time it's the HyperX Alloy FPS Mechanical Gaming Keyboard. I think it's still from Kingston, not sure if they just totally took the Kingston name off, but there you go, HyperX. This little bad boy right here. This is review ID 57079. You can check out this and all our reviews by going to www.aselabs.com. I'm going to save you the trouble, though, because you're probably watching this on YouTube right now. Easy thing to do right here. You hit the subscribe button right down below. You'll be informed of all the content we post. It's all videos these days. No more text-only reviews. If you'd like to see a text summary, you could check it out by heading to ASE Labs. There's a link in the description below. If you don't have time to watch this full review, you can check out the 1-minute review, which I'll have an annotation right here, I guess. You'll have a link right here. You can hit it. 1-minute review. You can check it out, and then come back for the full review where we actually say everything fully in depth. This is a full review, right? Let's get into this bad boy right now. If you haven't seen the unboxing, I'll link it. I'm not going to link it at all. I'm going to show you what it comes with anyway. No reason to see the unboxing. You get the keyboard itself. You get a detachable mini USB cable that's actually proprietary because it's got a little charging cable thingy at the end too. I'll show you it a little bit later. You get a carrying case. Nice little HyperX branded. You get replacement keys. Whoop. One dropped, of course, but they're right here. And actually, I already put them on the keyboard, so you can see the replacement keys are red, which I like. So that's that. And the regular keys are all black. So there you go. And you get a key puller to pull the key off like so. Boom. Just like that. And what else do you get? You get some literature, which is actually important for this because it actually tells you how to use the extra functionality of the keyboard, which I'll go through in a little bit. And you get some more literature. And now you don't have to watch the unboxing. Let's take a closer look at the Alloy FPS keyboard. Now, the name is Alloy FPS, right? You would think that it looks like shiny metal or something. And it's not, but it's pretty hard. There's plastic on the sides, but it feels pretty sturdy, so I think that's what they were getting for. Also, the important part of this keyboard, it's a mechanical keyboard. And you can hear what type of switches they use, so I'll just shut up for a second. You hear that nice mechanical click, that's Cherry MX Blue switches. The blue switches are reminiscent of the old IBM Model M keyboards. A little bit more on that a little bit later. But needless to say, a mechanical keyboard, I always recommend a mechanical keyboard, regardless if you're gaming or just for productivity work, because mechanical keyboards are great. There's no like mushiness, and you pretty much know when you're actually clicking something. It gives you that nice tactile feedback that really, really helps when you're dealing with a lot of stuff that you're dealing with the keyboard. So long sessions on the keyboard, can't go wrong with a mechanical keyboard. All right, let's take a closer look around here. So if you see on the back, you have 2 feet up here, which I don't recommend using. You should always use your keyboard flat on a surface, because if you elevate the surface of the keyboard like so, that means your wrist is going to be elevated too. Your wrist wants to be in neutral position. So if you can keep your wrist in a neutral position as much as possible, you're going to save yourself a lot of trouble down the line with like repetitive stress injuries and stuff. So you don't want carpal tunnel. Keep it as flat as possible and keep your wrist in as neutral position as possible. Don't try to like flex your wrists or anything and do any kind of weird stuff like that. If you look at the actual layout of the keyboard, it's standard. It's not overly wide, it's not overly crazy. So what you see in the market a lot of days is these gigantic gaming keyboards that are just humongous. Now, I reviewed ones in the past that were like that, and I reviewed some in the past that weren't like that, and they had this style. I actually happen to like the smaller type of keyboards because basically they get the job done and they don't take up my desk space in crazy proportions. And let's face it, not everyone has a big-ass desk that they're going to just plop a gigantic keyboard that does a lot of functionality that they rarely use or never use. So I like something like this form factor because it just works, and it works well. The fact that this port is mini USB doesn't really matter that much because, let's face it, you don't unplug and plug the keyboard in that much anyway. And even though this is a removable cable, it's proprietary. You're going to leave this in all the time. So there you go. So I'm not bothered by that. It's a weird design decision, but it's not one that affects any of the performance or anything. So that's a non-issue for someone like me. Now, let's let's go over to the other stuff. So like I said, the layout, fairly standard. The one thing that you have to be concerned about with this type of actual keyboard using the Cherry MX Blue switches is if you're not gaming only and you use this as a regular regular keyboard in your productivity tasks, like for instance, when I do work, I like to have mechanical keyboards just because they're so much better than having membrane keyboards. The problem that I have is when I'm on conference calls or something and I'm typing away, you can clearly hear that I'm typing on the conference call, so I have to mute myself all the time. Now in general, I always mute myself anyway because you never know, you're going to make some funny comment or whatever on the call, but regardless, if you're multitasking on calls and stuff, this type of keyboard is probably not the best thing to do in those situations. So if you're highly involved with calls and stuff, or you're in an environment where there's a lot of talking going around and you're conversing with people and you're multitasking, this might get very annoying to other people that are listening to you typing. So that's really something to think about. It would be nice if there was another version of the keyboard that had quieter switches, which Cherry makes, and I reviewed other keyboards in the past that has those. So hopefully that will actually come out sooner or later because most companies provide a couple of keyboards that have different switches. But that's something to think about in the productivity environment. Since this is a mechanical keyboard, there's no issues with the keystroke or the actual amount that you have to press down. You get the tactile feedback of the actual pushing down and actually registering a keystroke. I have not found any ghosting. I have not found... I've touched all my fingers on the keys. They all register, no problem. So this is a gaming keyboard first and foremost, which means that you're not going to have any weirdness. Like, you're not going to have any blocking keys. You're not going to touch 4 keys at once and then the 5th one won't work. All that stuff works as a gaming keyboard, and that's pretty standard in the marketplace, but it's nice when it actually does work on a product. The additional keys right here that are for replacements of the WASD and the 1, 2, and 3, 4 keys, the 1, 2, and 3, 4, I don't care too much, but the WASD keys are actually pretty nice. They have a slightly textured feel to them, so you actually know if this is in the dark, and by the way, this keyboard lights up, which I'll show you in a little bit. But if you're in the dark, you can actually quickly just feel where the WASD keys are based on that tactileness of the actual keys themselves, and that's actually pretty helpful. I went ahead and actually plugged in this keyboard into a power outlet because my computer's actually not close enough to do this, but gives me the chance to actually show you how this keyboard actually works. So this is when I say that the documentation actually helps, and I'm going to go through the different modes. So the first thing that I'm going to key you to is the actual mode that I'm on right now, which is, I have no idea what they call it. Let me see what they call it. So I'll go through the modes for you real quick. I'll just tell you, and then I'll show you how to actually activate them. So if you go into this quick start guide, there are 6 modes that you can actually do for backlighting. So right now, the mode that I have is called Trigger, which means that if I hit a key, the light for that specific key will turn on and slowly fade off. So if you see the spacebar right here, I don't know if you can see it, but if I click all these keys right here, you can see like the lights. Here, let me just zoom in. I'll show you. Hold on, here we go. Here we go. It's coming in. Oh, wait, there it goes. Okay. Now, if you see the red keys right here, here we go. I'm going to do one of these right here. W. See that red? I don't know if you can see it. Let me see. See that red? Here, I'll do all these. Okay, basically, when you click the key, it turns on and then slowly fades out. Let me back this up here. And there's a few other modes that we'll go into right now. To actually change the modes, it's actually pretty simple. There's no software for this keyboard, which I really, really do like. So meaning, like, I'm a Linux user, this keyboard works 100% out of the box because there's no software needed. Everything is contained on the keyboard itself, and that's awesome. HyperX +1 for you guys. I like keyboards that don't require any software. Now that being said, if you're a Windows user and you're used to like having things that have key bindings and stuff and you can like have macros and stuff, not the keyboard for you, but in general, who cares? Get used to it. This keyboard is pretty good. Now, there is a function key right here. This function key and these keys right here determine what function you're actually using. The function keys also do some multimedia tasks, which I'll go to in a little bit. So if I hold function and I go left or right arrow, you can see that, okay, so now let's go all the way over. So if you go all the way over this is the normal mode. And on normal mode, there's a few levels of brightness. That's the brightest right here. You can see that. And then you can go lower, 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 and off. So, brightest, so you get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 levels of brightness. So that means 4 actual lit modes and then off. So if I wanted to put it to the lowest setting, that's what the lowest setting looks like. And that's the highest setting right there. Now the next mode is breathing. So you can see that if I can also increase the actual light level right there. So you can see that it just breathes on and breathes off, right? You can see that right there, hopefully. See that it's breathing on and off. Okay, good. So then the next mode, hit function and go to the right. See what mode that is. See which one this is. Okay, that's the mode that I like, trigger. So you can see that the keys, every time you press a key, it actually shows you the key that you just pressed and slowly fades out. So that's that one. And again, the brightness works for all these levels. So if you turn the brightness all the way down, you actually won't see anything, which is actually very interesting. So there you go. On these kind of things, you should put the brightness all the way up. There you go. The next one is what they call explosion. So if you see, if I touch this U key right here, boom, it like explodes all over the keyboard. Do that again. See that? I don't know if you can see it that well, so let me zoom in. There we go. So I'm going to hit a key, hit this key right here. Boom. Boom. And you can see that the keyboard just basically explodes all over the place. So if you click multiple keys, they'll basically have an explosion all over it. And it's you know, all these little settings are actually really interesting stuff. But let's move on. The next mode is wave. Very, very easy to display because it's actually showing you right now. So the wave just goes across the keyboard continuously. And again, these modes all take into account the brightness settings, so you can actually turn it all the way down, which doesn't make sense, but whatever. Actually, it does make sense. If you're actually using this and you want to turn the brightness off so you're not annoying anybody, that does make sense. So there you go. Corrected myself in this review already. So basically that's the wave. And then I think this is the last one. Oh yeah. So the last one is actually custom. So you can actually set which specific keys you actually want to lit. Now right now they're set for the WASD and the 1, 2, 3 keys and the control key right here. And now I'm going to show you actually how to change that. If you want to actually, if you're on the mode that basically is custom backlit, which is the last one over, so if you hit function, go all the way over, that's the last function. And this one's actually really useful. So for instance, a lot of keyboards will have a profile basically set up for the WASD keys and the arrow keys, and that's it, you're stuck with that. This keyboard is actually pretty interesting in that you can set up custom patterns for you. So let's just say you have a game that you want to use the WASD keys, you want to use the arrow keys, and you also want to use the J, the L, and the 9 key for some reason. So to do that, you're on this mode, you hit function and the right control, the backlight will turn off. At that point, you basically just touch the keys that you want, which I already screwed up, so I'm going to stop this. Let's try this again. So I said the WASD keys, I said the arrow keys, you basically just touch the key that you want, and you can touch it again to actually turn it off. And then I said the J, the L, and the 9 key, right? And then to save that, you just hit function and the right control again, and then that's it. So you can actually, if I go back to the other modes and switch back, that is saved on there until you change it again. So if you have these games that require these keys that are special to you, you can actually set those keys to be the only ones lit. And if you're in a darker environment, that is actually pretty cool, pretty useful. I like that this doesn't require software. Again, good stuff, HyperX. The fact that you're thinking outside the box and doesn't require software in the computer, pretty awesome. Let's go over some additional things that I don't really like about the keyboard, actually. So one of the things that I use the keyboard a lot for is actually manipulating the volume of the actual computer that I'm using. I really do not like when volume keys are actually hidden behind a function key. So in this keyboard, you have media keys that are hidden behind the function key. And you also have a volume that's hidden behind the function key. So you have to hit the function key and then either F9, F10, or F11. F9 is mute, F10 is lower volume, F11 is raised volume. I'm not a fan of that because I like when I can actually manipulate the volume directly with a key or a jog or anything without having to hit a separate function key, because let's face it, sometimes I just want to mute something real quick and I forget that I need to do a function, and then I'd miss it and blah blah blah. All this stuff happens. If you're on a conference call and something happens, it can go pretty bad either way. So there you go. So I'm not a fan of that. It's not that big of a deal for the most part, but it's an opinion of mine and I'm entitled to my own opinions. The Kingston HyperX Alloy FPS mechanical gaming keyboard retails for about $100 at the time of this review. At that price, it's actually in line or slightly cheaper than comparable keyboards that even I reviewed in the past. And I think with the features that this offers, it's actually a worthwhile purchase, especially if you're in the market for a mechanical gaming keyboard or a mechanical keyboard in general, given the caveats I've said in this review. You can check out links below in the description to actually purchase this product from Amazon right now. ASE Labs and ASE Publishing would like to thank HyperX Kingston for sending this product for review and making this review possible. Again, if you want to purchase this product right now, hit the description below. You can see a link to Amazon and you're good to go. For ASE Labs and ASE Publishing, I'm Aaron Schatz, and thank you very much for watching. Please be sure to leave us some feedback if you have any comments on this review or any of the reviews that we currently have. And also, remember, in this corner right down here, there's a subscribe button. It's nice, big, and red's my favorite color, so you should click that button, and you'll be informed of all the content that we post. I said this at the beginning of this review, but if you do not have time to watch these long reviews that we do, because we try to go really in-depth, we try to go overboard in a lot of things, and yes, I understand that sometimes I'm pretty repetitive in these reviews. If you don't want to see that long, gigantic review, there's a 1-minute review that we provide for every review that we post nowadays. So if you go down to the description, there's a link for the 1-minute review. You can check that out, but since you already watched this entire review, right, you did, there's no reason to do that. But on the next one, there's a 1-minute review that we're going to post, so you can watch that. And then if you want to see the full review, you can go back and do that later when you actually have a little bit more understanding of the product. And there you go. So remember, please like, comment, subscribe, share this with your friends, and thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you in the next one.